Hello, welcome back. I'm Tommy, and I help people step into their power by eliminating self defeating thinking and behavioral patterns. So, I haven't seen you for a few days. I've been quite busy preparing to come to Mexico, which is where I am right now. And I'm doing some work, and then I am spending 6 days in a retreat, self development retreat, because, well, I just want you guys to know that I do this work too, and that there's always work to be done. And I'm really excited to meet with some other like minded people here in Tulum, Mexico. And I expect to learn a lot and learn about myself a lot, which is always what most of this work involves, so that as I become a better person, I'm able to show up in a better way for those around me and for those I serve through my Pure Power coaching as well. So sorry about that. If you heard that little ding, I didn't turn the sound off on my phone. Also, it's the end of the day here, and there's some construction vehicles going by. There's some dogs that like to bark. It's absolutely stunning outside right now, but it'll just be too noisy, so I've just set myself down here in my beautiful little Airbnb unit to speak with you. So I wanted to talk about Sober October. So I wanted to talk about sobriety and abstinence from alcohol as it is being touted for the month of October, and I'm pretty sure that's been going on for a number of years now, at least a few. And then it caused me to think more specifically about the word sobriety and how sobriety can be applied to so many things above and beyond alcohol. And in addiction recovery, one of those terms that we use a lot is emotional sobriety, because we find that when we remove the symptoms of our living problems like drugs or alcohol from our lives, or gambling or pornography or those other pretty intense and debilitating addictive behaviors, what we have underneath those symptoms, underneath those things that we're using to try and not feel and not deal with our lives, is our inability to basically deal with our emotional selves. In addiction recovery, again, I've heard it said and I've been told that emotionally you are at the day of your decision, say, to become sober, you are at the emotional age of the person that first started to abuse drugs or alcohol. So for a lot of people in recovery, that might mean 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, usually pretty young. And I can remember how sort of devastating that was to me when I heard that. I just thought, oh, this is an impossible situation. And that would mean that my children, a few years into my sobriety anyway, would have been more emotionally mature than myself. And I actually can look back on that today and realize that in various situations, they very likely were. I did not manage my emotions well in early sobriety. We're not used to doing it, and we also weren't taught typically how to do it. And so that emotional sobriety journey is a far longer and sort of more expansive, and I don't want to say challenging, but because it's very rewarding. But it's for me, it was in many ways the work. Yes, getting over an addiction takes effort and dedication as well, but those things do pass. And if you've ever quit anything, including cigarettes or sugar or whatever it may be, caffeine, you realize that after a certain amount of time, the physical craving for the substance does subside. And often, if you're giving up sugar or other things as well, you will see emotions come up. And all of a sudden it's like, wait a second, I'm not used to feeling these things, and I don't know how to manage and monitor them. So I wanted to challenge you, whether you have already decided not to consume alcohol for the month of October, whether you think it's not something that you want to do or that you need to do, that's fine too. But all of us could benefit from stopping and examining our emotional sobriety, our emotional maturity, our emotional intelligence. EI has also become, such a popular way of describing developing our ability to handle our emotions. So it's EI as well. And asking you to have a look at that this month of October or the month of November or for your whole life. Because that's the way I approach it these days. It's a lifelong thing now. And what I can say is that it does get better, and we do mature, and we do learn how to handle our emotions. And that's a lot of what coaching is about as well with clients one-on-one, is just helping people navigate their life and the landscape that sometimes can be extremely emotionally intense. And how do we manage it? And there's a couple things that I have learned, and one or two in particular that I wanted to share with you. And one is hearing someone on a show that I was watching. I don't even remember now, but I was obviously in some turmoil a number of years ago, and I remember someone guiding a discussion who said that our higher power, our higher consciousness, our higher self is far greater than our emotions. And I think a lot of people that get wrapped up in feeling sometimes overwhelmed with their emotions get the feeling that the emotions run us, that we don't have control over them, that we just kind of have to observe them and try and figure them out, but that we don't really have any power over them. And that, in fact, is not true. We do have power over our emotions, and we can learn methods and ways by which emotions come up, they're acknowledged, and they're processed and allowed to release out of the body. When they're not released, when they remain stuck in the body, this is how energy blocks happen, and this is how eventually illness is created in the body. Because we are energy, when our energy gets stuck, because we can't process our feelings and our emotions, we tend to push them away, try and drown them out. But that energy actually does get stuck in our bodies. And, energetic blocks in various organs, for example, can cause illness. And that's why if you've seen natural healing techniques or groups of people who, do Reiki and things like that, energetic healing on the body, that's what they're doing. They are finding energetic blocks, and they're helping to move the energy so that it can get unstuck and start flowing out of the body. Our emotions are meant to be acknowledged. They are signals to us that something is happening, that something is of concern, or something is wonderful. I mean, there's obviously many positive emotions. They're not all negative. But that something is happening in the body, and we want to acknowledge it, and we want to accept it, try to relate it to what is happening in the moment, or oftentimes an emotion is a old stuck pattern of thinking of or behaving. So all of a sudden something triggers us. We always hear about triggers. Something's happening, in your world on a particular day with a particular person or circumstance, and you find yourself actually overreacting to what is happening, and you're trying to figure out why. And often, if you're able to just take a breath and either look at it in the moment or a little later in the day, you'll start to see that certain emotions that come up regularly and that seem to be overwhelming are very likely attached to circumstances and things that happened to us in our past that, again, are stuck in the body. And we haven't figured out a way to move or transmute that stuck energy. So when something else comes up and reminds us of that circumstance, that trauma, that upsetting, difficult situation, it just triggers that emotional block, and it's like it's like an electrical charge that goes to that blockage and reminds us again and again and again of something in the past that we haven't learned to move energetically out of our bodies. So that was one thing that I wanted to say regarding consideration of your power and ability to move energy. This is why meditation is so powerful. And of all the tools that I have examined and utilized and studied over the years in terms of how I can be a better person, body, mind, and spirit, I have concluded, as millions have, that meditation is the singular most powerful method of moving energy. And that is because there's so much meditation that involves thinking of our bodies or seeing our bodies as the energy center that it is, with energy that flows up and down our spine specifically, and those chakra centers starting at the root chakra and moving up, up, up our bodies through our heart center, our throat, our head, our brain, and the energy then pushing up and out of the body and flowing out and transmuting in and around us. So, and the aura that we carry around us. So meditation gets us to tap in. And when we are tapped in and we're quietly contemplating ourselves as an energetic being rather than just a thinking being with the old programs in there and the routines and the things, the to-do list and all that analytical thinking, to quiet that down and allow us to get connected to our energetic selves, allows us to feel and to identify blocks in the body. And through breath work and meditation together, because they do go together, we're able to start moving some of that stuck energy. And it will come up as feelings and emotions and, some of those triggers. And we keep breathing through it and breathing through it and pulling it, pulling it, pulling it, pulling it, pulling it up and allowing it to release out of the body. And you feel the distinct benefits of doing that work pretty succinctly and pretty quickly. It does require regular practice. It requires consistency, just like anything else. Exercising for our physical body's health requires consistency. Changing the way that we think, coming up with new affirmations to replace old thinking patterns, all of those methods by which we change our habits, which include thinking, we change our energy, and we transform as well. So meditation is the single most helpful means of moving energy through the body, which means helping to move and identify and release stuck energy or old patterned, unhelpful emotional behaviors from our systems as well. So I'd like you to think about that. And as this Sober October continues, we're on October 5th, but really I like to say any 30 days, any 60 days, any 90 days, any lifetime from today forward that you would like to see transformed and healed and operating on a higher level for yourself and others. It doesn't really matter the day. But because of this Sober October, I have been thinking about emotional sobriety, and I encourage you to consider it as well. So thanks for being here. Thanks for sharing videos when you enjoy them. Please touch the heart that you'll see up on the screen if you'd like to subscribe. Make comments below. In the description, you'll find ways to connect with me on other social platforms, Facebook and Instagram. October 15th, I launch my Pure Power coaching app, so stay tuned for more details on that. And I hope that you're having a phenomenal October so far, and I will see you again.